Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about who I think is going to be the best player in Smash Ultimate by the end of 2025. And the reason I'm making this video right now is because Kagaribi is happening next weekend, which is going to be the most important thing in determining who the best player in the world is. But also, we just had Level Up Expo, which will probably be the second most important event at determining who the best in the world is, because so many of these frontrunners were not only at the event, but significantly underperformed at the event. So the debate of who's number one right now is more up in the air than it's honestly been in recent memory. I don't think there is a clear frontrunner at all. There's like 5 or 6 people that you could talk about, and we're going to be talking about, well, more than 5 or 6 people, as you can see. And this video is kind of going to be split up into 2 parts. There's going to be the first part of the video where I'm talking about contenders for best in the world, and then there's going to be the second part of the video in which I'm talking about people that I actually think are going to be the best in the world. So there's a couple players on this list that the results they have right now, I just think because of them, they are not going to be the best, but they're good enough player-wise where I still wanted to mention them. You'll know what I'm talking about when we get into it, and let's do that right now. And I think Sonix is probably the best player to... Sonix is probably the best player to exemplify what I kind of mean by a player who's good enough to be best in the world, but probably won't be because of their results. He has a first at Afterburner, 17th at Genesis, 3rd at Luminosity Madness, and then 9th at Level of Expo. So we're almost halfway into the year. He hasn't managed to get top 8 at a major event yet, and it's just because of lack of attendance, though. Of course, he does underperform at 2 pretty important events. So Sonix is good enough talent-wise to become the best player in the world, but I just do not think he is going to become the best player in the world because of these results, and I think he's really the best person to exemplify this just because the sample size is so small. Next up are going to be Light and Tweek, and I want to talk about them together because they have similar results, and I also think they'll probably have similar issues. For Light, he's going to have a 4th place at Luminosity Makes Big Moves, 5th place at the Reaper Invitational, 17th at Genesis, 2nd at the Roundtable 3, 2nd at Cavalier Clash, 9th at CT GamerCon, 13th at Battle of BC, and then a 4th at Level Up Expo. Tweek is going to have a 5th place at Luminosity Makes Big Move, won the Reaper Invitational, won the Roundtable 2, 2nd place at Tri-State Showdown. He's going to get 7th at Genesis X. He's going to get 3rd at the Roundtable 3. He's going to get 1st at Luminosity Madness, 17th at Battle of BC, 5th at Scarlet Classic, and then he is going to get 33rd at Level Up Expo. And I think the thing that is probably going to stop both Tweek and Light from getting number 1 this season is likely just going to be the meta. I do not think that Fox and Diddy Kong do bad at this meta necessarily. I think that you will find success with these characters, but will you become the best in the world with these characters? I don't know, because for Light, you're going to have to fight a lot of Steves, a lot of Game & Watches. Luigi's now are populating the top, and for Tweek, it's always just been a Steve problem. And there's a lot of Steves at the top right now, like Onan, acola, Syrup, Susu, Carmelo, he just won a major. You're going to have Crep Soleil. Like, this is the best character in the game. There's a lot of people piloting him at a very high level now, and they're all playing the character in a lot of different styles. If you cannot consistently beat this character, then you just cannot be the best player in the world. That is unfortunately just the way the cookie crumbles. And for Tweek, he just has not demonstrated yet that he can consistently beat this character. I don't know if it's like a game plan thing. I don't know if it's just like, well, obviously it's like more than a game plan thing because there's no just a obvious solution to beating all the Steve players. But Diddy Kong is a character that is analysis paralysis, very intricate, has a lot of options, and I think because of that, it's really difficult to pick the correct one up against Steve, especially when they're all reacting in different ways. I know he's been trying Donkey Kong lately. Maybe that's his secret weapon for the character. I doubt it, but it would be really funny if it was. And then for Light, I actually think Light's really good against Steve. Like, one of the best players in the world, top 5. You need to watch this guy play against this character. But also, when his character Fox gets jabbed by Steve at like 0, he just dies. So that one, the matchup is like actually super unwinnable, despite Light playing it incredibly well. And the results from Light and Tweek are solid enough where I think it's possible for them to be the best in the world, but they'd have to pretty much win out from this point on. They'd have to be quite exceptional. Light doesn't do bad at Level of Expo, so he is going to have a little bit of a boon there, though he does have a little bit of a worse placement at Genesis. And then, unfortunately for Tweek, he does bomb out pretty hard. I guess bomb out's not the right word. He still got 33rd at a major. But if these guys want to stay in that conversation for best in the world, they're going to need to perform at Kagaribi. Next up is going to be Glutonny. He's got last place at the Reaper Invitational, 9th at Genesis, 5th at Gamescom, 5th at Cavalier Clash, 1st at Battle of BC, 2nd at Citadel with mainly Link, by the way, and then a 17th at Level Up Expo. So this win at Battle of BC is obviously massive, and he gets a ton of super high impact wins there. Like, he beats Syrup, he beats Miya, he beats Spargo twice, he beats Tweek Riddles as well. Like, this event is so good for Glutonny, and it puts him into contention for that best player in the world conversation. Now, I think it's going to be really hard for Glutonny to stay in that conversation. One, because he's in Europe, and you just have less opportunities in Europe. Unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. You want to be in Japan or NA, especially Japan, though, if you want to be able to get access to all of these top players, be able to take some sets off of them. But the second reason is just simply going to be his character. I do not think that Wario is good enough to be the best in the world with. Now, you'll notice that Glutonny is still in this video. He is going to contradict my logic here. If anyone can do it, Glutonny can do it. But if it was anyone else, I wouldn't believe that you can do it with Wario. I think this character has too many really difficult matchups that are incredibly relevant. Sonic, Steve, Game Watch, I think those are all very, very tough, and those are like the main guys that you're going to be facing once you get into these top 8s. And Glutonny has demonstrated that he can overcome these matchups against the best of the best. Anything is possible for this guy, but the fact that he always has to overcome any set that he's in pretty much once you get into those top 8s, I think it's just going to make it extremely difficult for him to maintain that success that he found at Battle of BC. Now, the Link could be the wild card. Best in the world with Link, that I could definitely see, but he's going to have to use both characters to maximum effort if he wants that #1 title. Next up is going to be Asimo, and I kind of think the same thing about Asimo that I think about Glutonny, where I don't think that Ryu is a good enough character to be best in the world with, but here we are. Anyway, you're going to have him getting 17th place at Suma top 1, 3rd place at Subigeki 18, 2nd place at Kinsai, 9th place at Sumabato SP55. I believe this is Sumabato 15th anniversary. I'm pretty sure that's what that is, but regardless, he wins the entire event. He's going to get a 4th place at Delta 10. He's going to get a 4th place at Itsukushima 5, and finally he's got his 2nd place at Sumabato SP 57. So he has been killing it recently, just hasn't been able to travel outside of Japan this year, so you may not have noticed. And as I said, I don't think that Ryu is necessarily a good enough character to be the best in the world, where there's a lot of difficult matchups that you're going to have to overcome. And yes, he can overcome them, but doing that consistently is a different story. And the second thing is going to be the fact that Asimo, honestly, just a lot of the time loses sets where he shouldn't, and it's not that big of a deal normally because he makes a crazy losers run and he recovers it anyway, and it's awesome. But that doesn't change the fact that he still has those bad losses. And already on in the season, you have a couple losses that you really just don't want to see as someone who is in contention for best in the world. Yara, honestly, may be like competing a little bit more this year, so that one might not be as bad. But I do think that is something that could be an upset or an issue for Asimo. He's a little bit more prone to getting upsets, and while he recovers the run, typically, those losses are absolutely going to hurt you on your resume if you are going for that #1 in the world slot. So I think his character limits him, even if it's just a little bit, because he's nasty on this character. He can win the unwinnables. We've seen him do it before, and I also think that consistency issues are definitely going to plague him just a bit. Next up is going to be Raru, and he's going to be my final player that his character is going to be the main thing, in my opinion at least, limiting him from being #1. Now, he does have a couple slip-ups at the start of the season here that also don't help. He's got a 5th place at Misuma top 1, 17th at Sumabato SB55, and 17th at Genesis, but he wins Sumabato SB56. He's got a 5th place at Kaioken. He's got a 2nd place, and again, I think this is a Sumabato 15th anniversary. He's got a 9th place at Battle of BC7, 5th place at Delta 10, 1st place at Itsukushima 5, and then a 9th place at Level of Expo. So he's been pretty solid all over the place. He does have a couple inconsistencies, but he also has a major win under his belt. Top 8s at a bunch of events. 2nd place at this one feels really nice as well. But again, I do not think that Luigi is a good enough character to be best in the world with. And Luigi's by no means a bad character. I think that narrative has definitely been dispelled. This character on hit is just absolutely ridiculous, and his recovery is not as bad as it's made out to be. You have a lot more resources than it's actually initially seemed off stage, but that doesn't change the fact that I still think you have a fairly dimensional or one-dimensional game plan, and I really, really, really want to get this grab, or I want to hit you with this up-close and personal stubby aerial of like a nair or a forward air, something like that. So you kind of know what Luigi wants to go for, and if you have any disjoint at all, any disjoint, you are going to be able to deal with that extremely well, and his recovery is definitely very flowchartable, especially if you have, again, a slightly disjointed spike. That side beat, you can just react to it. Yes, there is a chance it can misfire, but I guess you just kind of have to hope that chance really does not happen. So I do think that Luigi's inconsistencies will stop Raru from being the best player in the world, but talent-wise, I do think that he has what it takes. This guy is absolutely insane. The conversions that he gets with this character are pretty incredible, and he is super resilient off stage, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. Editing group block, I forgot to mention MKLeo. He falls in that same area with Sonix, where he has a fairly low sample size, and he also has a 17th at Battle of BC, but I still wanted to mention him. And we are now in the second part of the video, and at this point, I think everyone's results are good enough. From this point on, they could be the best player in the world if they keep it up. Of course, starting off with Shuton, he's going to get a second place at Smash Awesome, which does count for the season. First place at Subigeki 18, fourth place at Genesis X2, third place at Kaioken number 9, ninth place at Battle of BC, second place at Delta's 10, and a 17th place at Level Up Expo. The only bad losses he's taking are to Midorun and to Jazo, so he's pretty much just been on an absolute tear recently, been very consistent, almost always getting into the top 4 of these events, only missing it twice so far this year. I also really like Shuton's character combination of Aegis and Olimar. I just think both those characters are really strong. Obviously, Aegis is a little bit stronger in my opinion, but all the things that Aegis players complain about is her inconsistency. This character gets edge guarded, and in those matchups where that's a really big problem, then Shuton has the choice of switching to his Olimar secondary. So yeah, I think his character combination is really great. Super strong start to this season. He does have a slight slip up of Level of Expo, but nothing to the point where he shouldn't be able to still get that #1 title, especially considering how everyone else did at Level of Expo. Next up is going to be Zomba, and Zomba's always one of those players where he has like an event and he just goes absolutely crazy. Like obviously it was at Genesis. This year it was at Crown, I'd say in 2023, 2022, I don't know, Glitch maybe. Like, he just has an event where he absolutely pops off. In 2025, it's been every single event that he has shown up to. He has just been performing. He's got a 9th place at Luminosity Makes Big Moves, 2nd place at Afterburner, 3rd place at Reaper Invitational, 3rd place at Roundtable 2, 5th place at Tri-State Showdown, 3rd place at Genesis, 1st place at Virtuosity Battleground, 1st place at Almost Heaven, 1st place at CT GamerCon, 5th place at Battle of BC, 5th place at Scarlet Classic, and a 3rd place at Level Up Expo. 9th is going to be his lowest of the season. He's been very consistent. He's been on his A game, and I gotta say, the technical stuff from Zomba has also been on a massive uptick recently. That was always the big critique of Zomba as a player. Yeah, he's the fundies rob, if that can exist. He's doing all this good stuff in neutrally spaced against his opponents. He knows what they want to do, but he's not killing them at 30. Now he's killing them at 30. He's killing people at like 0% off of this gyro combo stuff. It is pretty incredible. When you take a player with really solid neutral and just make them kill you in one hit off a projectile, you just have a player that is in contention for best in the world. I think Zomba absolutely has what it takes right now. He's got pretty much no blemishes on his record, and he really just has to keep it up. Next up is going to be Miya. He's got a 7th at Smash Awesome, 4th at Meisuma Top 1, 4th at Subigeki 18, 1st at Sumobato SP55, 7th at Genesis, 9th at Battle BC, 1st at Delta, and then a 33rd at Level Up Expo. And I want to use this time to just talk about how important really Level Up Expo was, because let's just look at players that are in contention. Doramigi obviously won the entire event, so that's going to help him. Hurt did not show up. Acola got 33rd, Spargo got 5th, Syrup got 9th, Miya got 33rd, Zomba got 3rd, and Shuton got 17th. So either people did really bad at Level Up Expo, or they did really good at Level Up Expo, and there's nothing in between for these people that are in contention for #1. So because of that, if you got a bad placement at Level Up Expo, as it stands right now, I'm not going to be picking you to be the best player in the world, because that event was so important. And as it stands right now, Miya got 33rd at that event, so he's probably not going to be the best in the world, but I don't think, rather, that's better grammar, that he isn't going to be able to bounce back from this. Absolutely is. There's still a ton of time in the season, a lot of important events coming up, and he's going to be in Japan as well, so he is going to have access to a ton of opportunities. And Miya also travels a ton, like, you got to give him the credit there. Even if it's not in Japan, he's willing to make the journey for the tournament. So I'm not worried about Miya getting his reps in and making sure that he's able to get some of these higher consistent placements, but this 33rd, as it stands right now, is absolutely hurting him. It is a factor that we have to consider for him not being the best in the world right now. And I'm actually going to talk about Acola right now, because he very much has not a lot to talk about. He's got a 3rd at Smash Awesome, 1st at Meisuma Top 1, 2nd at Genesis, just like absolutely killing it. Best player in the world type stuff 2025. Then 5th at Battle BT, still killing it, still doing extremely well, no bad losses there, but then he gets his 33rd at Level Up Expo. And again, as it stands right now with these results, this 33rd is going to knock him out of contention. But to say that Acola and Miya weren't even in the conversation for best in the world because they got 33rd, or they shouldn't be in the second part of this video, no, they absolutely should be in the second part of this video, because by the second half of the year, I guarantee you that these guys are going to have enough good results under the belt with this 33rd. Isn't even going to matter. Well, of course it's going to matter, but you get the point that I'm trying to say here. I do think that for now, Acola and Miya are kind of out of the conversation, but only until they go like both number 1 and 2nd at Kagaribi respectively. Then we can start talking about them again. Next up is going to be Spargo, and he's got a first place at Luminosity Makes Big Moves, first at Worst of the West, 17th at Genesis X2, 4th at Gamescom Land, 3rd at Cavalier Clash, 2nd at Battle of BC, 9th at Best of the West Climb Hazard, 1st at Worst of the West, and a 5th place at Level Up Expo. Now, I do think that Spargo is in a very similar situation to Shuton, even though he doesn't do Battle Level of Expo. He's got this 17th here at Genesis, very similar to this. He's got a first place at 1 major. Shuton has actually 2nd place at 2 majors alongside his first place versus Spargo's 1, but he does have a 3rd place at Cavalier Clash. And I think it's really important to understand how I'm kind of compartmentalizing this in my brain, and I haven't done a great job of explaining it. There's the first part of the video. Everyone there is in one group. Then there's the second part of the video, starting with acola and miya. With these results, normally I probably wouldn't be considering acola and miya. I might still be considering acola, but this 33rd might have just knocked him out of contention, put him in the first part of the video. And for me, this 33rd absolutely would have put him in the first part of the video. But because they are acola and miya, by the end of the year, I absolutely know that these two guys are going to be in the front runners for number 1 in the world. So they are going to stay in the kind of front runners conversation, people that I think have a legit chance, despite this 33rd. And then Spargo and Shuton are going to kind of be our next group in that, where they're going to have that one bad placement. Yes, well, 2 bad placements technically, because the 9th and the 17th. Same thing for Spargo, 9th and the 17th. So they are going to have their inconsistencies. But even with those inconsistencies, I would still have them in the conversation just behind the other people as it stands right now. And the third tier of these people are going to be the one that has Zomba and Syrup, someone that we have not talked about. Syrup's got a 3rd place at Luminosity Makes Big Moves, 4th place at the Reaper Invitational, 2nd at the Roundtable 2, 1st at Tri-State Showdown 2, 1st at the Roundtable 3, 1st at Cavalier Clash, 2nd place at Almost Heaven 6, 3rd place at Battle BC 7, 2nd place at Scarlet Classic X, and a 9th place at Level Up Expo. He has only missed 1 top 8 the entirety of 2025. He has been incredibly consistent, and the only things that are really holding Zomba and Syrup back is their ceilings are just not as high as some of the people above them, and they're like very, very close. For Zomba, he's got a 3rd place at Genesis and a 3rd place at Level of Expo. For Syrup, he's going to win a major event. It is only an A+ tier, but he still wins a major event, and then a 3rd place at Battle of BC. So Zomba and Syrup, they've been pretty much perfect this season, barely having a 1 bad placement with a respective 9th place each. Zomba's getting his at Luminosity Makes Big Moves, Syrup with his at Level Up Expo. So they've been pretty much perfect all season. Their ceilings are a little bit lower, though, and that's going to be the thing that keeps them from kind of the next tier, which we'll get to right now. And our next tier is going to have Doramigi all by his lonesome, because Doramigi has had a perfect season so far. 2nd place at Misuma Top 1, only dropping 2 sets to Acola and getting a win over him, as well as beating a bunch of other players. He's got a 2nd place at Sumbato SP55, only losing to Miya and beating a bunch of other good players. He's got a 5th place at Sumabato 15th anniversary. Again, I'm sorry if this is not a Sumabato, that would be pretty embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure it is. He's going to only lose to Ken and Tommy B, and then he has a flawless win at Level Up Expo, beating Onin, beating Zomba, beating Spargo. The only thing that is hurting Doramigi right now is his sample size is just a little bit too small for me to say that he is the front runner for Best in the World, the clear number 1, because he has been amazing. He has not messed up yet this season, but there's another guy that pretty much hasn't messed up, and he's been to a little more. And that man is, of course, going to be hurt. And despite him being banned, he is still our front runner for Best in the World, at least in my opinion. He's got a 1st at Smash Awesome, 2nd at Luminosity Makes Big Moves 2025, 1st at Kulon 14, 1st at Genesis X2, 1st at Kaioken number 9, 1st at Gauntlet of Glory, and then a 9th at Battle of BC. And I never talked about Hurt's ban on my channel, but obviously really, really, really horrible call from the organization. I do think it's a bit of a different culture over there with how they regard modding games in general, but also the mod that he had was to make the internet better. So, like, maybe if the product wasn't bad, like, I don't know. It sucks. It's really horrible call from the team, but at the end of the day, it is going to be his sponsor. They're the people that are flying him out to events. They're the things that are making it possible for him to compete. So it is going to be their call. And it's not like Hurt didn't know that there was no consequences. Like, of course, he would have known that they wouldn't want you to mod their game. He reaps what he sows. Still a horrible call. Terrible decision. It's very clearly just, like, cowering for Nintendo. Not a fan of it, and it ruins the competitive season because, you know, our best player in the world misses the 2 most important events, but whatever, doesn't even matter. Even without her being at Kagaribi and missing Level Up Expo, I still think that he is currently our best player in Smash Ultimate, and let me give you a visual here. And here we are. You're going to have the actual visualization of the crazy stuff that I was saying. You have the first part of the video, the tier 1 players. They could be the best in the world. I think talent-wise they are good enough, but I don't think it's going to happen based off the results that they have and then other factors that I've already explained. You're going to have tier 2, Acola and Miya, based off their current results. I wouldn't normally consider them, but they're Acola and Miya, so of course I'm going to be considering them. You got Shuton and Spargo. Only a few inconsistencies and some pretty good highs. They absolutely could do it. You have Zomba and Syrup. And to be fair, you could argue that tier 3 and tier 4 should be swapped because Shuton and Spargo do have higher highs than Zomba and Syrup, but I really do value those two players' consistency, so I'm keeping it this way. Tier 5 with Doramigi. Sample size for him is really small, but it's a perfect sample size. And then tier 6 for her. I still believe that her is our current best Smash Ultimate player in the world. It sucks that he misses the two most important events of the season, but honestly, without them, I still think that he can take that #1 title. And also, with level of expo unfolding the way that it is, like Acola and Miya doing bad, Spargo did fine, Shuton did okay, Syrup did okay. Like, there's a lot of people that didn't do amazing at that event that if they did do amazing, it would be extremely difficult for her to maintain that #1 spot. And unfortunately for him, that guy was Doramigi. Doramigi is hot on his tail right now. If he keeps up at Kagaribi and then just consistently goes to stuff, keeps performing like he probably will, Doramigi has a very real chance to be the best player in the world, despite being like 15 years old or something crazy. And with that, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The sport has been absolutely unreal. If there's anything I left out, got wrong, or if you want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub while you're down there. Use code PROOFBLOCK if you've been playing Rivals, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.